Guess I'm going live for the first time. So I have no idea how any of this works. I cannot tell you how long it took me to figure out just to find the thing to go live. And to be honest with you, I don't know that I could do it again. Like on your main YouTube page, and I do it all on my phone, but you got like manage video. There's nothing that really says I don't know. It's going to take me 15 minutes to find it the next time. I'm clicking on the little settings thing. It's not there. There's a little plus thing down the bottom, but that just brings up videos to upload. And there's one down in the corner. It says you, and that's just like it'll bring up all your videos you've uploaded. I don't know where I've even found it. And it's totally easy, but it's just not normal. What can I tell you? So I'm not even sure what's going on now. But this is what we're doing, is trying to just kind of feel things out here. Just got my new knives today. Yeah, I'm a sucker for stupid shit like this, but it was $9.99 or something. It's a quality knife. Your hand has got a little pinky thing. It's like a claw. So I got two of them. $20. Gotta stop buying stuff. Let's see, yesterday I bought a hot tuna t-shirt. Nice one though. It says since 1969, and that was really the deciding thing, because that's when I was born. And now I just released personal information. Yes, Happy New Year to you from Turkey. And hello to Alfie. Isn't that like a Michael Caine movie from the 60s? Alfie. Something like that. How do people end up here? And I just got a news flash on the screen. A restaurant ditches a traditional New Year's dish without announcement. So you weren't just waiting for me to go live the first time ever? So I'm just feeling this out. Like to go live more, I guess. Kind of when you feel like you're not doing anything, you're like, why don't I just go on camera and talk to it or to the people out there? So thank you. Scrolling aimlessly. I was doing that all day. That's why I decided, let me see if I can go live. Stop scrolling and talk or look at the camera. So what's happening in the world? Not enough, in my opinion. Not enough. Seems like all the same bullshit over and over. I'm personally at the point where I'm trying to, how do I get out of all of it? Is it possible to exist without paying for everything? Here in the United States, is it possible, without being just flat out homeless? But if, say, I live in an RV and I want to go and live in that RV, but not in an RV park, which I'm presently in Florida. Where do I go? I guess, you got places out in Arizona, some BLM land where you still got to pay, but it's a minimal amount. I think it's like $60 a week for some of the Bureau of Land Management land, quartzite and the like. And then there's areas even off that where you may not have to pay. But then you're into your water and electricity issues. which isn't huge. I don't need a lot. I basically use a headlamp most of the time, anyways. Really only need light where I'm looking. And I also like candles and fire. Not in any weird way. This is a candle here I got. This is real wax, pure wax though. I got this from Off Grid with Doug and Stacy. Good little channel. They have a lot of those natural creations, and it's got like a real wick, Just basically it's not a mass produced candle with whatever they do to dilute the wax, or if it even is wax. This is like a beeswax candle. It was like a 9-incher, and it's lasted quite a long time. It's good. It gives better natural light. It also, when you burn it, I guess the what it exudes, I want to say fumes. I don't know if that's what it is, but it kind of purifies the air. Bees are an amazing little creature, which is why humans seem determined to kill them all, wipe them out. You hear varying things on that. It seems like generally we are pretty much eliminating most of the important creatures. They all do, I believe they all do have a role to play, or else they wouldn't exist. They're doing something. Especially bees, obviously. I mean, that's not really one that requires you to put up too much of a battle to prove that they're an important part of life on Earth. Pollinating bees, obviously. I don't know about yellow jackets. The yellow jackets really, which kind of get generally roped into the bee thing. I don't know if technically they are a bee. They're a yellow jacket, maybe a wasp or something. They're nasty, though. I always remember little kid, back in, probably the 8 to 12 range, probably pre-junior high, but had to be fourth grade or beyond. But one of the summers, we went into this thing where we were throwing rocks at beehives. You'd find, I grew up in a neighborhood where there was a lot of new construction, building houses and stuff, and a nice neighborhood, so it was all house construction. But you get a lot of lot clearing, so you get piles of debris and trees. Then there'd be a big wasp nest in the middle of it, so we kind of, for a couple weeks, we were all into throwing rocks at them, and the bees would go nuts. And after a point, we destroyed all the nests that were in our vicinity, easily identifiable. And it wasn't a lot, you know. Not that it's good, but you're little kids, so that's. And I just remember this kid coming, and it was a weird situation because our neighborhood was all like families. It was pretty, nice neighborhood outside of Boston. So you had all just traditional families, all mothers and fathers in the house. Most of the mothers didn't work. So we're talking 70s. So there was this one of the newer families. They had a case where they had a babysitter come, and she had her kid, and the parents were divorced. It was just a weird, but kind of the newer families that came in where it wasn't completely traditional apple pie situation. Not that there was anything bad or wrong about him, but it was just unusual and noteworthy for that you, even as a little kid, you were like, it was just weird. But anyway, so her son, I remember, came, and he's trying to fit in and stuff. So he came. He's like, "Oh, I found a bee's nest," and it was it was a yellow jacket's nest, and it was in a fallen log on the ground. So there was nothing to really throw rocks at, but we're just, whatever. So we're throwing rocks at it, in the yellow jackets. Next thing you know, I get stung right in the palm of my hand. And I started crying because, God, those hurt. I was a little kid. So I jump on my bike and ride home. It was about a half mile, maybe a mile at the most. And like three of them followed me to my house, and they're in my house. And my mother was a screamer, harmless, but she'd just scream kind of when something would go wonky. So she screamed, "Ah!" And the bees are in there. And I think one of my brothers was there, and we took care of the bees. And, but I was just amazed at how obviously sweat or just general whatever of my skin was on that rock. And when it hit that nest, and they knew where that hand that had thrown that rock was, and I was impressed. Even at that age, I knew what had happened. So it was good. It was a lesson learner. But I'm like, wow, they know what's going on. And to follow me home. So pretty impressive. But it has left me wondering all that time. We're talking probably 40 years later, which I guess I could research it, but I'm not looking. And I may, because I still bring that story up because I was impressed. And it's not like they stung me on the left shoulder or something. I'm a right-handed, and it was the hand that threw the rock. you know, wasn't on the arm or something. So I was like, wow, they went right to the spot. Although I probably didn't have the rock in my palm. It was probably in my fingers. But so that was the Yellow Jacket story, which will shall ever forever heretofore be known as the Yellow Jacket story. I thought about doing bees, like getting a little bee thing and the wood crates and when I had my house, but I sold that. Now I live in an RV. It's a big undertaking. Then you start researching. They're like, there's all these diseases, and you got to do, it's not like just put it out there, do the honey thing, to keep it clean, obviously, but there's just a whole lot. So it seems like you gotta either it's gonna be a full time passion slash possible income job where you're able to devote your whole day to that, or you got to be super rich or retired or something. Basically, time is a big factor there. Many pursuits of that nature where you're like, look, if you're not like golf, my family was big into golf, and I decided early on that I wasn't willing to devote enough time to be really good, so I don't play at all because I respect it. I'm like, no, it's too expensive. I don't enjoy it that much. And I'm like, if you're not going to play 2 or 3 times a week to just be good, as a amateur amongst your friends or whatever, to be one of the better ones, it's not worth it. So I did, because I was wanted to play guitar, and I'm like, that's what I'm going to try and do with guitar. Which that didn't work either because I've always had to work. So I kind of switched as far as guitar. I play guitar and I can play a lot. I'm a song player with guitar. I play songs. And that's what I like to do. I'm into music and I'm always discovering songs I want to play. So I concentrate more on playing a song than I do like all that crap, which is important. And if you were really into music, and I am, and I believe the most difficult thing in music is writing good songs. Anybody can play guitar. Not everybody does it, even when they want to. It takes a level. When you read about all the people who are great, Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Van Halen, which I never was a fan of Van Halen, I just didn't go for that sort of style. But when people talk about it, it's like every time Jimi Hendrix came to the door, he had a guitar around his neck, and he's played guitar all day long, and that's how you get where that fretboard in and out, and you play. That's what it takes. Years and years, and if you can do that in your teens, from like 10 to 18 or 20, you'll be able to continue doing that the rest of your life. But you still got to be able to write good songs. Not necessarily as a guitar player, you can become like, somebody who gets called on by songwriters. That's the Bob Dylan thing. He's a he's a very good rhythm guitar player, and he's got great timing and everything, but there's nothing flashy going on there. But he writes the songs. Hendrix was a huge fan of Dylan. And that's also the thing too, where I can't stand people who, oh, he has such a good voice or who gives a shit? I don't know about you, and no offense, because Celine Dion does seem like she may actually be somewhat of a all right girl. But I'm not interested in the type of song she sings. I don't care if the voice is great. As an example of a probably, like a technically good voice. My favorites are still Hendrix and Dylan and Mick Jagger, who does not have a good voice. And it's like the songs, I love like Country Honk and Far Away. I love all the Stones, but it's the little things like when he sings Far Away Eyes and Country Honk, he's kind of respectfully doing countryish songs, but he also tongue in cheek. There's a girl with far away eyes. So if you're down on your luck, I know y'all sympathize. Get a girl with far away eyes. Outstanding. Great tune. Now what? I guess you just do shit now. You talk and just do shit. I gotta rearrange. I mean, I got too much stuff. I just moved out of my house about 9 months ago in March. And obviously just the transition from being in a house with stuff. Now I'm in an RV, so I can barely move. And I got 5 cats. I love cats, but I wouldn't have had 5 if I was in control, but I kind of ended up with 5. Here's the deal. The day I bought my house, I went to the ASPCA in Lakeland, Florida. I lived in Plant City, and I rescued a cat. I went into the cat room with like 100 cats, and there was one figure eighting around my legs, and the rest of them were just kind of sitting there. And I'm like, that's what I want. I want a cat that wants to interact, friendly cat. So I got her, and then I had a U-Haul truck as I was moving, and you know how U-Haul has like those things on the side, like facts, interesting facts, and mine said Virginia, and I was like, we'll call her Virginia for that and the Stones, Sweet Virginia. And she was a sweetheart. She would just, if you wanted to pet her all day, she'd let you. So then I lived in a neighborhood, kind of a lower class neighborhood in Plant City. And like the majority of my neighbors were Mexicans. And for the most part, decent Mexicans, except the ones that lived across the street from me were a little dirty. And no lie, I have documentation. It was unfortunate. And that's just the nature. They're our newest immigrants. They are family people, hardworking. But that's the neighborhood I was in. But so there was a lot of stray cats. So one morning I open up my front door and there's this cute little orange kitten out there just standing there by itself. So I take that guy in. I named him Ike because my first cat back in high school was an orange cat and he was named Spike. And then I see the mother was over in the bushes. And the mother I had met a few months earlier, her and her brother were in my yard. And I took her brother in for a couple nights and then he didn't want to stay. He slept in my house a couple nights and he left. And then she was a tortoise shell, kind of that black with spots of orange. And I've come to learn is tortoise shell. But this was her. She was the girl, and her brother was the boy. So she was over in the bushes when the cat. It was like she did it, like take care of this guy or something. And I let her in too, and I'd feed her, and and then I took a trip. I had to go up to Massachusetts. So I drove up there for a couple weeks and I couldn't take them, you know? She's like, my sister's like, I'm staying at my sister's. And she's like, no, 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 you know? So I brought Virginia with me. And I think I have a picture of Virginia somewhere. Where is that? From my sister that she got me for Christmas. She made. We'll reappear that at some point when we find it. It's right around me, but I don't know where exactly right now. So when I came back, Ike was nowhere to be found. Not sure what happened there. If somebody took him in, he was cute, but he was a little feisty. He never really, like, my legs were literally ripped apart from him. He's friendly. He'd come, but he'd stick his claw, you know, use me as a scratching post. So anyway, so I kept his mother. I kept feeding her, and she would hang around. And I let her come in and go out, you know, whereas Virginia I never let out. And then, oh, you little motherfucker. I'm like, who would know about the testing troublets? Hattie Carol. Happy New Year. I'm telling the cat stories. So then I noticed, and I named the mother Lila. Kind of a Mexican-y name. Lila Downs. She's a famous Mexican singer. So she was pregnant again. So in this time, she stayed in when the pregnancy got near, and I let her have her kids in my house. And she had 4 orange cats. And now when I took another trip back up to Massachusetts, I took those 4 kittens, but not Lila and Virginia. So I had 5 cats in my car, and I drove up to Massachusetts. And I'm fighting them the whole way, you know, keeping them from under the gas pedal. And by the time I got to like Connecticut, they were all like under my legs in the driver's side. And I just gave up trying to prevent that. And I got rid of 3 of them and I kept one of those kittens. So now I was at 2. I had Virginia and Billy White Shoes, which is just the first name that came to my head. He had the white paws, you know, and the back legs. It kind of went up to the knee joint, white, and more like a boot. And the front paws were just white. And he had a little white stripe on his nose, and his belly is white. And I still got him. And then I come back, and Lila's still there. And then she had another litter with 4, and I got rid of 2 of them as an Uber. I was Ubering, and I was able to get rid of 2 of those cats, and I left with 2 girls, Lola, which is a long hair tortoise shell, and her sister Angie, which I still have. And then she had another litter, and came out. I come home from work, and they were like dead on the floor, like they were stillborn or something. So there's a possibility they may have been, like Billy may have been the impregnator, because I guess if it's like one of the kids, sometimes it can be like that, a stillborn or something. That was not as gruesome as you think, but still, just kind of when it happens to you, you have to deal with it. So you scoop them up and you bury them, you know? Whereas if maybe you're sitting and watching a video of that, you're like, but when it happens in your house, you're like, I got to get these out of here. And it was sad. So then she had one last litter, and it was 3. And they came out, and it was cool because it was August 29th, like the first one came out, and then another one, and then the last one came out on the 30th because it was like midnight. So, and I leave them there, and I go out to just watch TV or whatever, and I come back like an hour, and one of them was dead. I don't know if she rolled over on him or if just wasn't that strong or something. I don't know what happened. And I still have those two. And that's Donald. And I originally named it Kamala. I thought it was a boy and a girl, an orange one, all orange, and an all black. And it was right at election time. It was August leading up to that, November. And then turns out that Kamala was, and I couldn't call her Kamala, even though that was kind of the official name. So I was calling her Lala. But then so we had Lila, Lola, and Lala. And then it turned out it was a boy. And I changed his name to Zigaboo for Zigaboo Modalisti from the Meters. I call him Ziggy. And he is the coolest. He's like the most, him and his brother Donald is like still just this crazy, sweet. They're all sweet as hell and really friendly. But his brother, the orange cat, is just a wild man. And Donald is like the most mellow. I call him the cucumber, as in cool as a cucumber. He is just as mellow as hell. And like, he'll crawl into bed with me, and he goes right into the perfect position, comfortable for usually doesn't stay long, but he's just really an interesting cat because he's just so mellow. So I got two black cats, two orange, and a tortoise shell. And I always like to say I love the cats, but I wouldn't have acquired five. I kind of got left with five, so that's where I stay. They're cool. It's not a problem. It's about perfect. You literally could say maybe one more would be too much in the RV. It's a 29-footer. But they seem to have enough room. They can do from the back to the front with their zoomies when they get them. And you kind of just learn that, you kind of learn to design even though I get too much shit in here, that, you can't put a guitar in that path, on a stand. But I'll tell you, there's something else. Like one morning I wake up and I got to get up for work, at 6 o'clock. I come out and the fucking RV door is wide open. And four of the five cats are gone. That was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And three of them came right to me. But Angie, who's still skittish, she's slowly, I don't know how old she's, 2 or 3 years old now. She's starting to become more cuddly. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Like, it'd be tough to even pet her, for like the first year of her life. And but she didn't. I had to wait. I just had to go to work, and I knew she'd be around, so I came home and was able to scoop her up. But as I scoop her up right in front of the door, she fucking stuck her claws in me. It looked like a rattlesnake bite in my arm. Two of them went in, and blood, the dark red blood. So it was. But now, like Billy was just like, there's like a screen door there, and he doesn't have his claws in the screen, I don't believe, but on like the braces, and he's like shake. They want to go back out. So it's a constant battle. But it's funny because one time, this is way before, it only happened once, but there's a counter when you walk in the door with the sink. And I'm just standing there. Sometimes I'll stand at the door and I'm doing stuff right in at the steps and stuff. And Donald just jumps right on my back and out the door. I was impressed. It was a ballsy move. And he's the one, I'm able to scoop him up, but he is one of those ones who you try, when he knows you're trying to get him, he's going to keep trying to run away. So you kind of got to be like, and try and jump down and grab him. Billy came running right back that morning when the door was open, and Donald did, Zigaboo did too. So that was, I don't blame him. Hopefully I can get somewhere eventually where I can just let them go. And I'm thinking, obviously, Arizona desert. But yeah, I just don't know what to do. If I want to try and just save up some money, and buy some property. Like there's a channel I watch, Off Grid Backcountry Adventures, where the guy's got that. But it's cold. He's in northern Arizona, and I don't know if I ever want to deal with cold again. But I don't want to live in 120 degrees either. Florida's a pain in the ass because it's too much. This is like RV Central, and they make rules specifically for RVs, and there's a whole subculture of, it's an industry. No, that's why, you almost I just got back from San Diego, California, and hey there, Bay Money Oka. I'm gonna get this actually. Bay Money Econ, something like that. It feels like if you said it in a smooth way, it would make might does it say something or is it just a name? I don't know. But like there's a whole bunch of people just taking over streets in the LA area with RVs and shit, and they don't do nothing, and they actually give you money and stuff. It seems like, not that I want to live in that, but in the general California, take advantage of what, and that's the thing. They're gonna do that. Why not go out there and just live there if you can live in your RV right on the street and use city water? Shit. I wouldn't do that. I'd rather live out, like in the Mojave Desert somewhere, Death Valley area. But it seems, you just can't help but think. I mean, if California is going to offer the services and allow it, okay. I mean, I'm still the type I'm going to want to work and stuff. I'm not going out there to do fentanyl or something, but I will definitely be buying weed. But that's just part of life, man. I got no problem working and then coming home and getting high and having dinner and playing guitar, listening to music. That's a productive line of life or mode of living, I believe. You know, you don't want to wake and bake and go to work every day unless you can. But that gets old. I mean, it really, I love getting high, but you really, when you can do it all the time, you kind of don't if you're, unless you're a complete derelict, I guess, or something. I'm fine with just doing it after work, you know. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? That's a nice chord. Love and mercy, that's what we need to know. So love and mercy to you and your friends to know. Brian Wilson. The one song from his solo career that's kind of become a solid standard. What a weird thing that was, the Brian Wilson, who we lost this year. Some big ones. Phil Lesh, Brian Wilson, or last year, I guess. Donna Jean Godchow, the female singer from the Grateful Dead in the 70s. Joe Ely. Jimmy Cliff. Saw him at the Boulder Theater, 2013. Great show. Great show. His voice was great for him. He played good. He was the only guitar player. He played guitar all night and sang his songs. If you don't know Jimmy Cliff, he's a Mount Olympus in the reggae world, and it's cool because all those guys, Desmond Decker, Bob Marley, Fred Hibbert, who was Toots, and Jimmy Cliff, they all kind of knew each other like in the early 60s coming up. And Desmond Decker actually got Bob Marley a job as a welder. Like, while they're trying to become singers, he also was like, I'll help you out. And then Bob Marley, not many people know, he worked in a Chrysler plant in Delaware in like 1967. His mother lived in the United States, Sedella. It's not too obscure. If you go delve into the Bob Marley thing at all, you learn that pretty quick. But it's in all the documentaries. And he was a big star in Jamaica for years before he became an international star. He started making records in 1963, and he didn't become internationally known until about 73 when Catch a Fire came out on Island Records. Chris Blackwell, just a rich white dude from Britain, he lived in Jamaica. That was a British colony or whatever, part of the Commonwealth. And Peter McIntosh, who was Peter Tosh, who taught Bob Marley how to play guitar and was one of the original Wailing Wailers. But he always used to call that's what still use the term. Like he hated white people, and he did. And he'd call Chris Blackwell Chris Whitebad to his face. Which nowadays seems like who wouldn't, but back then it was kind of a ballsy move. Especially because Chris Whitebad was giving him money to make records. But Chris Whitebad also was smart enough to know I can handle that and not get offended or make a big deal of it, I guess. Kind of laugh it off. But Peter Tosh famously, Keith Richards has a house in Jamaica. He probably still does, but he famously did. And in 1978, the Stones started their own record label, Rolling Stones Records. It was distributed by Atlantic Records, which was the big parent company or whatever, who famously Led Zeppelin was on them, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, but also like Ray Charles and all those guys. And but anyway, Peter Tosh was one of their signings. That's, remember the tune Don't Look Back. Mick Jagger and Peter Tosh. Faces behind you, there to remind you. Gonna walk and don't look back. Don't look back. Don't look back. So Keith Richards has his house in Jamaica, and he famously let Peter Tosh stay there. And Peter Tosh allegedly made a bonfire, like in the main, like with all the furniture in the house. Most of us, if Keith Richards even talked to us or like let us hang out, we would just not want to screw that up. Peter Tosh was not bound by those worries. Let's see. I bought some new glass. I'm just looking at the glasses on my face. This is my face. My face right here. But I go to Ollie's, which is like the junk, the Building 19. And I bought a thing of glasses, and I got some more Karen light glasses. Different. I'll tell you, I just signed up for this friggin' Liberty Mutual car insurance and this right track thing, which for 90 days they monitor every ride you take. And there's like 4 categories. And I just got a thing that popped up on my screen reminding me to choose always allow when asking to track. But there's braking, speed, time of day, and telephone use, phone use, like the 4 categories. And after 90 days, it can lower your rate or it could make it go up. So I've only been on it like 2 days, and I drive like a 4.5 miles to work, and it's right away I see that my speed thing is down, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I called them. I called the Liberty Mutual. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I've stayed under every posted speed limit. To the point where there's a stretch of 30 miles an hour. I got like 18 cars behind me because nobody goes 30. And the guy's telling me, and of course it's Emerson, but it sounds like he's probably not really named Emerson because, oh yes, what can I do for you? And I'm like, why is my speed thing at good instead of excellent? My braking was excellent, and the phone use was also from excellent to good because I was listening to Gutfeld on the way to work. The 4.5 mile. I wasn't holding the phone, doing anything with it. I just was listening from when I started in my RV, kept it going in the car, and drove to work. And the fact that it was playing something and I was listening as I was driving counted against me. This is the world we're creating for ourselves, people. We're okay in it. And but the speed, I'm like, dude, I have not gone over any posted speed limits. And he's like, well, if you're going on a fast road, that'll count against you. So I'm like, so if I'm on a highway and the speed limit's 65 and I go 65, that's gonna count against me? I'm like, do you understand if I go 50 on that highway, I'll probably get killed or kill other people? He's like, well, maybe you need to, if you can find another route. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You actually, if the road I take to work as a highway, I should try and find another route so that I don't have to go 65. There must be something I'm not understanding there because that's insane. And it is insane, folks. I mean, how can you expect to live in a situation where okay, I'm following the rules or even staying a mile or two below the speed limit, but if it's a fast speed limit, it's a negative. And it's like time of day. So if I'm a upstanding citizen, but I work at night, it's probably going to be a negative just because I'm driving in the dark. And I guess technically, logically, yeah, driving in the dark is probably more dangerous than driving in the day. But you're going to penalize me? Like I need to quit my job and try and find a day job? I do work in the day. I'm just speaking for those that do work at night and have Liberty Mutual. So it's just horrible. And it's funny because I use my own car to go to work, but if I have to do something, the boss will let me take his company pickup. And I took that a couple weeks ago and went just down to Walmart to get probably water or something. You have those stop signs in the parking lots of places. I think I went over to the Publix next door and they have stop signs like every fucking 5 feet in the Publix parking lot. So sometimes you're aware of them and respectful of them, but you may not come to a full stop because you're down at the end of the parking lot where there's nothing and you can see for miles and miles and miles. And apparently I did that or something of that nature. And I get back and my boss on site Is like, did Chad call you? And he's like the safety guy for it's a national company. I'm like, no. He's like, well, apparently you didn't stop at a stop sign. I'm like, well, dude, I did not stop. But yeah, I may not have come to a full stop, period, because I'm in a parking lot and I could see that nobody was coming. And but anyway, I got the call. And I'm just like, and I understand totally why a company needs to do that and wants to do that and should do that possibly if the technology exists. But I'm also like, boy, does it suck living under that sort of society. And those are those little things where you're like, I just never thought we'd be here. Who would? But you're also like, if I worked for myself, I wouldn't be subject to that, would I? Those little things that you're like that aren't necessarily the reason to start a company, but they kind of are. You know? Like you just don't want to be under anybody having any say in how you just move about in the world. And it's pretty bad now, you know? So I got that. If I go into my boss's work truck just to go get gas for the generator or the lawnmower or something, now my personal car insurance. It's only for 90 days, but I thought it'd be pretty easy. I don't use the car a ton anymore and I can go 30 in a 30 zone for 90 days, I thought. But there's more to it. Although I found myself the other day, it's 4.5 miles from my RV to the work site. And but the first road out of there's a stop sign, and I don't think I came to a full stop at it. Because if you're in Florida, if you've ever been there, there's no hills. And many of the roads are straight. So you come to a stop sign, you can see like 5 miles down the road, and there are no cars on it. So you're coming to more or less a stop, but you may be rolling slightly, and you're like, it's safe to go. You need to make sure you stop when you have the right track tracking you. I'll be curious to see. I haven't looked at it since that trip, actually, to see if my braking went to good. And Emerson, the guy I talked to in the fast track department, he's like, "You're at 89 points. That's fairly good." I'm like, "But dude, I've been on it like a day. I've already lost 11 points and I've driven like 20 miles. That's not good." I thought I could do it. And I still think I can. I'm like a fairly safe driver, I swear, but holy shit, man. And it'd be one thing if like you could lower your rate if you get a good score, and if you didn't, they just let it go. But they'll actually raise it if you get too bad a score. So it's not just like see how it goes and say, okay, I guess I didn't win anything, you know? It's like, no, it could hurt you. I saw a good meme the other day too of these things you don't think of that are happening to you and you're freely letting happen. So you get taxed when you get paid. You buy a house and you still have to pay a tax every year on it, or your car or whatever. Different states for that, but you there's a tax on everything you buy, sales tax. You're just getting taxed all the time, and these motherfuckers are just fucking using that money in any way they want. And Ilhan Omar, that fucking Somali cunt from fucking Minnesota. Yeah, see, this is where I'm one of those guys. So and she's a fucking she speaks like I do too. So um she's worth 30 million and you only make like 100 and something thousand a year as a representative. Who's going to defend that? A lot of people are. So I hope she gets kicked out of Congress, and I hope she gets deported, and I hope Tim Walz ends up in jail. And I will not be happy if those things don't happen. We'd be fucked right now. I wouldn't be doing this right now, I bet. If that fucking fraud, absolute repulsive human being Kamala Harris had won the presidency. Just if you're supportive of that or think that would have been okay, you're an idiot because you wouldn't have been in a good situation either if you support her. That'd be you just have no idea. So we're 1,000 times better off with Trump in there. And if you don't understand that, just grow the fuck up. I mean, I'm sick of these people. Whatever problem you have with them, you're wrong because and look, there's a lot of problems with them. And I'm not super happy with he's worried, they get caught up and he's one of these guys, he needs to be loved and you don't need to be loved by the people who love you. It's all the people who suck anyways, and he's worried about pleasing all these fucking Democrats and having the Clintons like him or something. And like I've solved these wars and shit. Who gives a fuck about Ukraine? Stop giving them fucking money and let them fucking die. I don't give a fuck. You got a problem with that? I don't fucking care. I'm not wishing anybody to die, but that ain't our problem. And we shouldn't be giving them any money. Zero. But so I don't like that he's worried about that shit but I think that there are things he's doing that are going to have lasting effect for us in a good way, but you can't anything you're seeing on YouTube or the mainstream media, you just can't believe vis-a-vis Trump. You have to go in and personally find that and look at it. And who has the time or the wherewithal to do that? The intricacies of these little things he's doing and also obviously the any of the presidential what do they call those? All the things, the orders he's signing that can be just undone by the next guy. So that's the other problem. Oh yeah, you guys got to eat. Forgot about that. Got a little caught up in myself. Living the life of a narcissist. I don't know if it's that bad, but did I show you my knife? My new knife? I think I did. The claw. Can't have too many knives or guns. Well, you can. You can only shoot one gun, but you got to have several different styles. Good to have a good shotgun, good rifle, several good pistols, revolver. Reliability, but also redundancy. Bazooka. RPG. It's nice if you can have those things. So I'm curious, or I'm gonna see if I want to go and stream. If I got a Disney pass, but I can only go during the week, which makes it hard with my job. It's 100 miles away, almost like exactly 100 miles for me. So that's what an hour and a half. But it's just a lot of traffic, so if it's open to midnight and I'm really needing to go, I can go there and get there after work at like 6:30 and, kick around. But one thing I found about Disney World is I look forward to going more than I actually enjoy being there because it kind of sucks. Too crowded, too expensive. The people are just... I'm working that out because I think I have to just work that out. And I think I have worked it out. I think my thing, I was a pass holder for like, I don't know, from like maybe 2012 to 2020. And then I just got it again last year on April 1st. And I think I'll just let it expire. I think I am kind of finally over it. Because I like going, but I mainly just walk around now. Like from the Polynesian, you can walk to the Magic Kingdom, and I kind of like doing that more than I like being in the Magic Kingdom or anything. And I know the guy who plays the ukulele at the Polynesian and stuff, so I'll hang out, listen to him, shoot the shit with him a little bit. But as far as going there and riding any rides and stuff, I don't really care about that anymore. And why would I? But there's just something about the whole wholesomeness which doesn't really exist anymore because it's all just a money pit. So that what I feel it even is, I think, is more in my head than in reality. You know? But at the same time, you go there and you can get you're in there. But when I'm there, I'm just driven nuts because there's like somebody telling you no about like you're not doing anything either. It's just like you're going somewhere or trying to walk a certain way, and it's like, oh, can't go there. Don't go over there. And shit like that. And it's just insane. And they really don't want people like me, kind of poorer people, you know. I don't know. But there's a part of me that likes the whole over security. I wouldn't say I enjoy the over security of shit and stuff, but still being in a place where there aren't the guys in the wife beaters with the jack-o'-lantern meth faces, the meth teeth and shit. There is something to be said for that. I do like that aspect of life, or at times. Like I said, when I get there, I'm just kind of appalled by the type of people who bring their family there and spend thousands of dollars and think they're actually cool going to Disney World. Two cans of cat food a day for 5 cats. Just your normal can of cat food. So not too bad. That's why I say one more cat I think would be the tipping point. I got no heat in my RV. No hot water either. I gotta replace the hot water heater. But it's generally not a problem in Florida, obviously, the heat. And even the hot water, like there's a nice shower on site. So at the RV park where I can shower, and and like going to the showers generally pretty pleasurable because it's warm outside. It's not like you gotta put a parka on and then get in there and put the parka back on and come back. So it's not like if you were up north where it would be kind of like, you know. But I do have to possibly get that water heater. I mean, obviously, I guess. You see what that's going to cost. There's just something constantly. There's just always something you have to pay for. It's crazy. My top fans. How did Hattie Carroll get number one? There's 2 number ones. How can there be 2 number ones? So how is there a number 2 or 3? Wouldn't it be 3 and 4? Why are there 2 number ones? I guess you made 2 comments. That might be what puts you over the top. Well, Hattie Carroll made 3. Why isn't he number 1? Interesting. We'll have to see over time how that evolves. I see that on other people's chats. I wonder if you click on that little symbol. Oh, okay. What does it say? So you are number 1, Hattie Carroll. 75 XP, 50 XP, 25. So you're at 75. So it must be 25 XP per comment, perhaps. So that's how it works, man. The more comments you make, you move up the list. If you're concerned with being number one, you gotta talk to me. But don't say too much. This is all about me. So I've been live for 60 minutes. And I get fucking ripped off. So I went to buy one of those, what do they call them? The things you hold your phone in that balances it. I wanted to say gurney, but that's not it. But it's something like that. I can't think of the word. I hate when I can't think of words now. When 30 years ago you just couldn't think of the word. Now it's like I'm losing it. But anyway, I bought one and and they're like $100 roughly or something. So I bought the refurbished one. It said good as used, and it didn't work. And then when I finally got around to going, I should send this back. It literally was 1 day past the fucking 30-day window. So I'm stuck with one that doesn't work. Because if you go to Disney World, there's something, and it'll be funny. Like I watch these streams at Disney World. Like that's something I'll put on when I'm doing something. I'm listening to music, but I'll put that on. And they are like, there's this one Resort TV one, which is kind of the best one, in my opinion. But they are the most, they're just like nerds, and it's a guy and his sister, mostly the guy, and they're just, I don't know. It's hard to explain. They're decent people, obviously, and they're nice people, but they're just too positive for me. Like I love going to Disney World and being at Disney World and Disney World, but I'm critical of everything, you know, and justifiably so. There's poor quality. The food sucks. A lot of the merchandise is poorly made. Everything's too expensive, too crowded. There's too many fat, lazy people there. Disgustingly so. There's all these fucking people on these scooters, and it's like people that should not. They're just fat and lazy. It's disgusting. And then you get the people with the babe. They have these baby carriages now that are like 3 wide. They also have baby carriages. They're like like a crib on wheels. It's like, look, you gotta maybe let's draw some constraints here. Like those are not. It's just crazy. I mean, letting kids in at all is fucking crazy to me, but so there's just a ton of so this Resort TV one and but if I go there and start streaming, I'm just who I am. And I make videos when I go now and sometimes I'll put them out on here. And when I'm videotaping, then I see some obesely, grossly fucking morbidly obese person, I say something to the camera / myself. And so I'll have my stream will be like that. Like it'll be fucking kind of nasty. And I would like to think people can get it and would enjoy it. Like be like, you know, cuz look, I'm overweight. I know that, but at the same time I'm not morbidly like I'm active and I can do stuff and I do stuff and I just don't get how people like some of the comments on that Resort TV one are just don't you just you're like I don't need to say like they'll be cut like I really like the blue lights and I'm not lying, quote unquote. And it's like didn't you just maybe just pull back when you started typing that and go I'll save that one. I don't need to share that. And there's a lot of them like that. And I'll go in there sometimes and I will say something. I'm like I remember one time I'm like what sort of drug do I have to take to enjoy this chat or something like that. They won't answer. And I know I make them cry like almost. But I can't help it. I find it funny. Why don't people just find it funny? What is this? Oh, we have to be nice all the time. It's not, I'm not being, I'm in a fucking chat on a stream, dude. Get, fucking take a breath and just, you know? And I think I say enough in a certain way if after a while you're like, oh, it's that guy again, that you'd be like, he's obviously just kind of, you know, razzing us, not like in here to fucking make people cry. If you can't laugh about it, you god damn. So it makes me want to do it more. It's like, no, you need to get over yourself. This isn't all fucking roses, man. I mean, get over it. So that's where I guess bottom line is I've got to do that one or two times, see how it goes. I'm kind of the type though, if I find trying to walk around with this fucking thing, what do they call it? Is it gimbal? I think it might be gimbal. But oh, I got the box right here. I don't know where the gimbal itself is, but yeah, one of those thingies. But it didn't work. It might be a case if I haven't done something right, so we haven't worked on that in a while. Doesn't say. Just says smartphone stabilizer. So we'll do a little bit of that. Maybe we'll do some musical live streams. I'm just in this situation. I'm sitting here at my table. Uh-oh, another actor was accused of sexual harassment in a lawsuit. It was just the news flash at the top of the screen. Can you see the back of that? Um, so I can't even like sit under my table because I got so much stuff under it. So I'm sideways, and then I got a bunch of stuff. I guess I can show you. Maybe it's dark, and I'm not gonna. But so I got my guitar right here. But then I got all this. So I do sit here and play, but to do it justice, I'd have to go out and set up on my. I got an actual guitar chair. I got that at Sam Ash when they were going out of business in Tampa. I ended up getting quite a bit there. Well, not. Let's see. I bought a ukulele, like a resophonic ukulele, which is one of those ones. Got the metal on the around the sound hole instead of a sound hole. It's the metal resophonic. And then there was a couple other things I wanted, and I'm like, I left after getting that, and then I'm like, all right, if those things are here when I come back, I'm gonna get them, and I ended up getting a Les Paul Jr. Gibson. I had a Gibson ukulele and a Gibson, so I got a Les Paul Jr. I don't even play electric that much, so. And then I also got a Fishman amp, which is rechargeable, that I can plug a guitar and a microphone into, which I use all the time. That was an awesome buy. And that was like a $1,200 amp I got like for six something. So that was a great buy. They actually had a Martin ukulele, a soprano, which if they had that, I might have gotten it, but that had been sold when I went back. Thank God. But check this out. I did buy a Martin, a tenor, Tenor, which is the size, the kind of the most popular ukulele size. And under that, you got the soprano ukulele is the next size down, then the concert is the smallest. I often confuse soprano and concert, but anyway, I left this one in my car. I kept it in my car. I didn't leave it. I knew it was in there, and I wanted it in there. And I come out one day and friggin' that was the stock here. And there was a just the slightest little I could tell there was a little thing there, like a little separation on one end of it, and the heat in Florida, which is why I'm looking to I don't really need I mean, you could argue that. I mean, I play ukulele a lot, so having specific types is not just something I don't put them on the wall or something. But I'm thinking of getting a Kloss KLOS, which is carbon fiber, so which is resistant to the humidity changes and stuff. But it's like $1,200. And the guy at who plays at the Polynesian in Disney, Alika, he bought one actually. And I was surprised because he had the 8 string ukulele, the Kamaka, which I ended up getting one of those. And the last time I went, I saw he had the Kloss, and he's like, "Yeah, well, let me know because I'm a representative for them, so I can get you a little discount." So we'll see how that goes. But that'll be like the last ukulele I get. But that'll be key because then I can have one I can leave in my vehicle and not worry about coming out and having that happen. I'm pretty good with my guitar collection as far as what I have. I don't see me getting too many more or wanting too many more. I might get rid of that Gibson and get a Dan Electro electric, which is a lot cheaper. You know, I got a couple. I got a Mexican-made Telecaster and a which I got in Austin, Texas, but at a Guitar Center. And then I have a old growth redwood Telecaster, which is made out of old growth redwood, but recovered from it was like in a house or something. It's not like they cut the tree down to make it. And that's cool. That was quite a bit more expensive than the Mexican made one. And then I have an Acoustasonic from Fender, which is a newer guitar they made with it's got preamps in it. It's kind of one of those it's a hollow body, but just the thickness of like a regular electric guitar. And it has a toggle switch. So you can get different acoustic sounds as well as a straight Telecaster sound. And I got the Mexican version of that, which is $1,200, and the American version, which has 3 different toggle switches, but it with the tone control, you have an infinite amount of tones. You know, if you go it all the way or the other, so technically you have 6, but then you can mix it in the middle. But the American version has 5 positions, and that was like $1,800. But that's a really the beauty of that guitar is it's been great for me. It's performed every time I wanted it to, and it's light as hell. And I really liked it. It's a fun guitar to play. That one's I mostly play my acoustic when I play out my Martin acoustic cut out Martin, but I'll play the Acoustasonic a bit. Lately, I've just been going with the just the Martin straight acoustic. I haven't been playing ukulele live at all. Still play it in my downtime, but I haven't been playing it on stage. I wasn't totally happy with, you know, definitely not as smooth on the ukulele. I'm a strummer, you know, and it kind of helps if you can do a little more picking with the ukulele, it seems, for certain songs. I'm working that out, you know. Some of them, like Harder They Come, I play an ukulele, or They Don't Dance Like Carmen No More, the Buffett tune, and those are fine for my style of playing. Started doing Heard It on the X by ZZ Top. That works. Ukulele. Which I saw Shiny Ribs do that one. And Shiny Ribs is Kev Russell from the Gourds. That's what he calls himself in his band. And that's kind of why I call myself the freaking Howley when I play in my other channel where I put all my live sets. I'm not the type to generally do like the name like that, but I just kind of thought it was somewhat funny, and I'm like, it is kind of helpful to just have that alias there. So I went with it. So I go with the freaking Howie. So that's it. Yeah, I have another channel called The Freaking Howie with a PH, based on my last name of Phelan with the PH. And it complicates things by doing that, obviously, because most people would be like F, but who cares if you can't figure it out. Once you get popular enough, it's not a question. Like nobody wonders how to pronounce there's good examples of this where you're like one of these names, you're like nobody knows how to say it, and then all of a sudden they become really popular and nobody has any questions. Like for instance, here this is a bit obscure, but Bono from U2. If you were got the first U2 album, Boy, which my brother did in 1980, on the back it said Bono Vox, VOX, like vocals, but it was all written as like one word under, I think there was drawings of each member. So some people were like, "Oh, is that Bono Vox?" Kind of called him that. But now when he became really, he's the Bono we know and love. Nobody's confused whether it's Bono Vox or Bono. There was some videos on YouTube of him just this last Christmas, like days ago, I guess, weeks ago, doing some busking or singing with a busker in Ireland. I don't know if I didn't watch any of them. Not really a fan. I don't like. It's a shame, but I don't like. Same with Springsteen of what they've let themselves become, and the self righteousness and the just being off and willfully ignorant of the reality that they support. You know, it's a shame. Anybody out there anymore? Doesn't matter to me. I mean, it does. I appreciate if you're out there, but I'm saying as far as whether I would continue to talk, it doesn't matter in that respect. It's nice. It's nice to just. It's nice to have something like this where you feel like you're not just talking to yourself, but then there's nothing wrong with that. But that even if you don't know if anybody's out there or not, you still feel like you're at least not, talking to yourself, or your cats. Although they like it, they like what I gotta say. I think so. I like this. See, now I'll become a little obsessed with this probably and start doing this a bunch for a week or two. Yeah, I really would like to be able to figure out how to survive in this world and enjoy the whole day because I got to tell you right now, I don't. My work ain't bad. I work for a good company. It's not overly anything, but it's boring and pointless. That ain't nobody's fault. I mean, I guess it's my fault for kind of staying there or being at that point where that's what I left myself in the world. But it's not the company's fault. Nothing. There's nobody too horrible that I work. I don't as far as my day when I'm working, I'm more or less by myself all day. But so there's nothing like totally horrible about any aspect of it, but I there's a lot of I don't do much all day, just the nature of my job, I kind of can find stuff to do, but I I kind of manage the yard where we have all our materials for a big project. So people come in intermittently through the day, but there's days when nobody comes in for anything. They have enough, they just don't need anything. We don't get any deliveries. And so I don't literally have nothing to do but, maintain the yard, cut some grass here and there. But even that, especially in Florida right now, the grass doesn't really grow. So there's literally I had to the first couple months were and it was a lot harder than when I was clearing this yard out. There was plenty to do, and I was doing a lot, and it was hot and fire ants and you name it. And but I kicked its butt so much that now I'm at the point where it's just cut the grass occasionally and there's not a whole lot to do. And it's tough. It's not enjoyable. Just sitting there, scrolling through the phone, playing an occasional song on guitar and stuff. And like my boss will come in, like the construction manager is in and out occasionally. He'll see me. I don't like, if he comes in trying, if I'm playing my guitar, I don't like panic. I'll just keep, because I'm like, yeah, I'm playing my guitar. He's never said anything. And I mean, I don't do it. It's not all the time. And, I'll play a song or two and then go on to something else. So, and I get in the bottom line is I'm taking care of what does need to be done. And I've done a great job getting it to the point where I'm at, like, there's not a lot to do. So it's tough though. I'd rather, you kind of want to be careful. It's like, if I had to stay as busy doing what I was doing the first couple months, it's hard. That was like hard. I was cutting, it was like a jungle, an overgrown jungle, and I had to clear all this shit out. And we're talking Florida spiders and snakes and fire ants and stuff. And so it was hard work, but I kind of needed it. I was a bit out of shape, so I kind of looked at it that way. I looked at it as good. And it was. But now I'm at the point where unless somebody's coming for something or delivering something, I don't really have anything to do. And it makes for a long day, believe me. And you also I don't know if everybody would feel this way, but so I'm there's just nothing to do, and even though I'm getting paid, not a lot, but I'm not okay with that. Like I should be and could be doing something where some sort of productivity of personal growth or something is occurring, and there's too much. You can't do too much. I can't just sit there and read a book. I kind of probably could. So anyway, I'm back to, I work for a pretty good company. They just brought us out to San Diego for the Christmas party for 4 days and stuff. Great little trip. So just nothing, no, just want to be clear that it's not a negative towards them at all, or anything. It's just the circumstances as they are just not satisfying to me, I guess. Which it doesn't isn't a horrible. It's kind of sucks because I do feel like I should do something, get it so that I'm more engaged with what I'm doing to make my money. So I feel that's a good feeling, but there's the reality of I'm still doing this and it doesn't feel good every day just doing nothing at work. And that is essentially my job. Well, I'm gonna have to eat some dinner here. I'm fucking cold too. It's cold here in Florida. It was cold last night, man. It was colder the night before, but last night felt colder for some reason. But right now I got shorts on and my legs, the part that is bare is feeling cold. So I'm gonna possibly go and put some sweatpants on. Or maybe just slippers. That may take care of it because the feet, you get those feet covered, it seems to. But I gotta do something like that. I could keep this going, but I think it's time to eat. Not sure what I'm gonna eat. Kind of in if I don't have any hot dogs. I haven't had hot dogs in too long. I'm a regular hot dog eater, and it's been a couple weeks. And I thought I had some in my freezer, but I don't. But there's certain I do those Nathans suck. And it took me a long time to actually narrow it down to which ones I didn't like. Because, Publix, I like shopping at Publix, Some people claim they're too expensive, but I've seen that the prices, certain things at Walmart are more. And we have an Aldi here. I don't go in there. I don't know. There's just certain brands, like with Cheez Its. I want Cheez Its. I don't want like the things that are probably the same fucking thing, but they call them something different. But anyway, I just, so I usually buy what they got to buy one, get one free for like hot dogs. But I finally realized that I do not like the taste of the Nathans. I like what is it, kosher or something like that? Like the name brand, something like that. I forget. You see it in the thing and I know which one it is. They're pretty good. The Stalin's not bad. It's like STAHL dash LEN or something like that. Not Joseph Stalin. They're not bad. I don't get the ballpark. That seems like it's just kind of ghetto. And I'll occasionally get some of the higher one. Trader Joe makes a good if I'm around a Trader Joe's and I have a cooler because there's none right here. So if I have a way to keep them cold, I'll grab a couple of those. There's one in Tampa. If I go into Tampa, and if I go to Tampa, Tampa's far enough that I bring a cooler with drinks anyway. So if I can stop at the Trader Joe's, I usually grab some hot dogs and some of that buffalo chicken dip. Pretty good. Oh yeah, I got to finish up my nacho cheese. Heat that up. But yeah, just gonna be nachos for dinner with some salsa, little put a little dab of sour cream on each one. That's the key. They got the Iguana Mia, great Mexican restaurant on Bonita Beach Road in Bonita Springs, Florida, and there's the original one is in Fort Myers, right on 41. And but I love that place. I used to eat there like every Friday night when I lived down there with my folks' place, and afterwards, where I lived in an apartment, they get the huge margarita, and it was very tasty. And they'd have the best chips though, and they'd give you a little triple thing with like super hot, regular, and a thing of sour cream, and you put a little dab of sour cream with each thing. That was the key. That just turned it. Instead of just putting salsa on your chip, dab a little sour cream on there. It'll take it to the next level. And they would have these. I get the fajitas, but they were blue cheese, carne asada, blue cheese. So steak fajitas with blue cheese crumbles. Wow, killer. Still think I will go again. I'm not quite close enough to go there just for that though. Actually, it'd be like probably a 90-minute trip to go to the one in Fort Myers. Maybe a little over that. A little much just to go for that. Okay, well, that's 90 minutes. That was the first time out. Thanks for tuning in if you're still out there. We'll do this again. Be sure to subscribe and whatever else you can do. You know the what do they call it? You know the whatever. Tell your friends. Got interesting things to tell you about my life and living in general, and cats, music. So yeah, we'll try and we'll think about this a little more now that I'm doing this the live stream. Maybe we'll do some thematic. Where we just talk about particular music stuff or just it's tough. It's easy. I can things I know well. I can easily go off on tangents, which are as legit as sticking to a topic. I don't like to overplan things. It's weird because I definitely there's different types of planning. There's like my brother he works for a professional football team and he's in charge of the travel and he has to do, in-depth planning of every step of the thing and different requests for these spoiled players and shit. So when he goes on a trip himself, it's like, oh, like he'll have activities for every day. And I'm like, no, my plan for a trip is I'm going to San Diego. And I actually did research some things I wanted to do, but none of it's set in stone. And you also you don't want to overplan. It's like I'm going someplace I've never been. I expect there to be things I won't find in my own research on the internet and that'll come up that I want to be able to swing right into. So, you know, obviously you plan where you're going. You make that decision. But that's about all I need. With obviously with the phones today, you get there and you can do all the research you need. Like best pizza in or live music. So so if I say I'm gonna talk about it's like, oh, we're gonna just talk about 80s Grateful Dead music or something or dead shows or the parking lot scene, it'll never stay there. But it could. But those are the sort of things I'm thinking about talking about, I guess. Because it still stands up, man. All this time. I remember one of my friends who may or may not be on here right now saying this will probably, when we were at shows back in the 90s, this will probably be the highlight of our lives. Or his life, maybe. But no, in general, that's somewhat true. Obviously there's other things, kids, I guess for him maybe, but it was if you never went and you had the chance, you blew it. Because no matter what you think, like, oh, I went and saw the Stones or Bowie or U2 when they're nothing like a Grateful Dead concert. Nothing. Nothing. And I've been to a lot of other concerts and nothing was as in the pocket as that, and just too good. Nothing but fond memories of that. All. Then last night they debuted on the Grateful Dead's own channel. They played the 40th anniversary of the video So Far, which if you ever saw that was great, recorded in '85. And it included parts of their New Year's concert from '85. So I guess it came out in '86. But and they also played in the just to on stage by themselves in, like, I think the Civic Auditorium in San Francisco. They just recorded them playing some songs. But then at the end, they just released an official um, from their own vault, so it's nicely produced of the opening of the New Year's concert on '85, which was Not Fade Away, which is unusual for them to open a concert with that. And it went right into Touch of Grey, which that was before Touch of Grey or In the Dark was released. But at the end of Touch of Grey, I mean, not Fade Away is just your E, A, and D, but E, A, E, 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 A, E. And the beginning of Touch of Grey is A, E. So you're doing a E, A. It was nice. And this was before Jerry had his coma, but he was into it. And the Touch of Grey was nice and fast, And I was able to confirm, when they do it's a lesson to me, the Bakers and the Abels and the C's, the ABCs, we all must face, try to say a little grace. He does it the way I was doing it, or I do it the way Jerry does it. But basically, I went online and was looking at some of the chords. More than video, I was looking at just chord layouts for that song, and there was some funky I'm like, that's totally different than I had been doing it. Then I watched his hands, and I'm like, he's doing exactly what I'm doing, which was the original way it was written in their chord book and stuff. But I made some adjustments, like the way they do it starts out, you got your C sharp minor, which a C sharp minor would be like this. So C sharp minor 7th, you just take the pinky off. Then you go to, you add in, this is a C sharp 7th, But I learned that you can do that C sharp 7th here, which is the same as this. Slightly, but that's how he does it. He comes up here. B7, E. See, those little things you learn, like, you learn your C chord and your C7, right? That's one of the first things you learn. And then if you're not taking lessons, which I never have, it takes you many years to realize, okay, so there's C7th, C sharp 7th, D7th, which is the 3rd fret, It's always the same, E, F, F sharp, G. The things are always the same, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, and up to the 12th fret where it starts again. So, and like there, like when he comes up to that G sharp minor, the ABCs. So that's like a D sharp 7th down to the C sharp 7th. Same shape, B7th. And that's like the B7th. That's one of the chords, like the first difficult ones you got to learn when you're first learning, when you're still looking at your fingers to do a D. So B7th, But essentially, if you take your pinky off there, the little triangle you have up there on the A, D, and G string, that's what that is there. Now your C7th, that's that triangle right there. That's part of the B7th, And you just start to, I could have taken official lessons and they probably explain a lot to you, but it took a lot longer, but I learned a lot of that on my own. So I think maybe it sank in when I learned it sank right in. I don't know. All right, folks, we'll do something soon. Thank you. Now what do? I wonder if I just hit the X. 100 minutes. Are you sure you want